So my name is Jane Wathome, mother of 3 grown children, 1 married. So actually I should say 4 children, 1 and married to 1 man, Ken Wathome, and I love Jesus as my personal savior. Been born again for the last, I've known the Lord as my personal savior since 1990, and it's been an exciting journey. And in relation to what I'm doing here, I would say it was God-led. I was a home mom for a couple of years after leaving the corporate world in my mid-20s when I got married, and started serving as a church as a volunteer and in the area of counseling and women's ministry. And after a couple of years, that led me to go to school to do a master's in counseling and theology at Nairobi International Leadership University, which is formerly NIST. And I did a master's in counseling and theology and decided to focus my thesis on HIV and AIDS, which became a crisis in the early 2000s, late 1990s. I came across a lot of issues related to that as I counseled different women. But as I did my thesis, one of the things that was really apparent is I realized that most affected by HIV and AIDS then were women, who were 65% of the population of Kenya. But again, it was women who were not economically empowered, they were not educated. And I just felt a leading of the Lord to go and implement what was my thesis and being engaged in making a difference in the lives of those women. And those women, majority of them would be found in the slums. So that's how I found myself in the slums of Ongatrongai, called Kware slums, back in 2002. And initially what I used to do was actually just visit with them. I was introduced to them in different households by a friend of mine, Lucy Njoroge. And I would visit with them, pray with them. But in my life, I'd never seen poverty together with HIV. Seeing deaf women suffering from TB, did not have access to treatment, having women sick from HIV and AIDS, in abject poverty, no food to eat. And I really felt convicted and led of the Lord to begin to use what I have in my hands. I could bring food. I began praying with them, bringing people from my school to share with them the word, but the word was sufficient, was not sufficient. They told me, yes, you've prayed with us, you've shared the gospel with us, but we cannot eat that. We need food. So one thing led to another, and we had conversations on you're leading, the causes of why you're infected is because of the life that you're leading. And how can we change that so that you're not, what alternative lifestyle can we give you to stop doing the things that you're doing in terms of sleeping around, because that's how many of them are getting infected, and dying and living orphans. And they had all sorts of ideas. They had a vision for their life. Many of them had ideas on how they want to be economically empowered. A lot of them talked about skills, training in weaving, in sewing. Others, all they needed was access to credit to start businesses. And around that time, we were working with Paulu. Paulu came alongside us. Alongside me that time, we didn't have the word Beacon of Hope. I was just coming to the community. And we did a training to help them change their mind. Because they were all these imprisoned, they were imprisoned in their minds that they are not able to do anything. And as a result of a workshop that we did with them in Faulu, they realized that they have a lot they can do with their lives. And I then felt challenged to help them and begin to walk alongside them. But there was one big thing that happened. I used to come, what I had again in my hand was a vehicle, so I would park them in my car, talk to doctor friends, and look for medicine for them. And it's in one of those occasions when I took a number of them to Bagathi Hospital. So a lot of them dead in the wards. And the particular woman I had taken to the hospital, the next day she died. And that really, I left some orphans. And that really, really challenged me. And it helped me see the plight of the very many poor Kenyans and the healthcare services that they were receiving at that time. The dead together with the live. But if you're HIV positive, taken to some of these government hospitals, you're destined for death. So that really, really challenged me, and realized that these women have an idea of what they want, and all I needed to do is to be Jesus fit. So through the support of my family, my husband, we were able to lease a building, and we began training them. Got a trainer. There was just divine connections that God was putting together. Led me to someone who was already doing a business in crafts, who agreed to journey with me to help start this enterprise. So we bought everything, through the support of my family, bought everything, leased the building, and started training the women how to make carpets. And because of my background in sales and marketing, I knew how we could sell these products. But it was the woman and her child. So they would come with their children. And over time, we started a creche. But I also realized that we had to feed them for them to come. So we started a feeding program. Everything was just happening simultaneously. We began with 25 women and 15 children. And the numbers by day were increasing. After some time, initially I was just interested with HIV positive women, but other vulnerable women came alongside and said, if you don't help us, because we are equally vulnerable, then we'll go get infected and we'll come so we can get help. So I realized that we also have to work with the most at risk to help them transform their lives. So we began also a counseling and testing center through the support of Kenyatta National Hospital. And the numbers were increasing by the day, to a point where God was able to bless us with this space. And we had a very clear vision that we needed to have a hospital or a medical facility where we could give antiretrovirus and a good place where we could restore dignity. It was all about, I would say, Isaiah 61. People who were imprisoned, people who were oppressed, but needed freedom, really freedom in Christ, but wholesome freedom. So we began the counseling and testing and giving antiretrovirus. And I would say, I think that time we were the first facility or the first organization in the county, Kajiado County that time, giving antiretrovirus and really being at the far front of fighting issues of HIV, bringing alongside dealing with issues of HIV and AIDS. And of course, these women, by this time, were bringing so many children to the creche. But one turning point for me was seeing children who were already sexually active by the age of 5, the age of 7, involved in prostitution as a way of supporting their mothers. And it's their mothers using them. And I realized that we can't just use them to empower the mother. We also have to get involved with the next generation. We're dealing with a woman and her entire family. Then also we discovered that some of these women, they're young people in the homes, were involved in drugs, peddling drugs in the community. So we realized that we also have to deal with the young people, the youth. So that became the Beacon model, where we are supporting not just a woman, but it's a woman and her entire household, and helping them to move from high levels of vulnerability to a level of sustainability, and in a holistic way where we are intervening where issues of HIV, of care and treatment are concerned for those who are HIV positive, education for their children, economic empowerment, as well as social transformation and mental transformation, and then so that they can take charge of their lives, and also educating the youth in the next generation. So as we moved into this space, that's what you see. Yeah, you find a clinic at the entrance, and it's not just HIV. We realized that we have to also incorporate other people who are not HIV positive, but want access to care and treatment, want access to good health. But it also became a sustainability strategy. So right now, the facility is accredited by NHIF as well as other insurances like Britam, CIC, so that we can have access to resources to be able to sustain those who are not able, particularly the ones who are infected. And then we have, and so far that medical facility has supported nearly 400,000 people since we started. And about 3,000 HIV positive people have benefited from that medical facility. And of course the school, I saw what was happening with the children. And again, initially when we started the little creche for them, when we moved here, we realized that we needed to start a nice preschool. And then after that, release them to the community to go to the local primary schools. Because we thought that initially, the most important years of a child is 1 to 6. So we're sort of like laying the foundation. But as we began the preschool, which we thought was a little heaven in the daytime, we realized that we cannot avoid going to the next level, starting a preschool, because a primary school, because these kids were coming from, as much as you are doing a good job, we realized that we need to still take another step of faith and start a primary school, because there were those who home was not home. We needed to create an environment where we can continue with what we had begun with them. So we now have a primary school up to class 8. We had our first class 8 students do the exams this year. And believing God that we will continue trusting God for our secondary school in the next 3-4 years. And then I mentioned about the youth. Some of these women died. We started a big child sponsorship program for the most vulnerable children. And right now, that child sponsorship program has gone way beyond Beacon Rongai. We are now working in the slums of Nairobi, in Dagoretti, in Kibera, in Westlands, within the Deep Sea, supporting and educating vulnerable children. Now we are working with over 28,000 orphan and vulnerable children, educating them through different schools, but taking the same model where we are supporting the same family, their mothers, you know. It may not be in making carpets, but economically empowering them and identifying the skills that they have to make a difference in their homes. And for some of those children, we focus also on the families who may be infected or affected by HIV and AIDS. Some of the children themselves are infected. Some of the mothers are. Others are very vulnerable because you need to prevent the spread of the disease. So the model that we began, where we are taking the most vulnerable, those infected or affected by HIV and AIDS, we have scaled it to other places. But here we have what we now call a model. Yeah, where you can see how we begin working with families and transition them once they are sustainable. So here we also have a center. I talked about the young people whose parents died, and we took them through high school technical training. And after some time, we realized, can we start our own technical training? Because we have so many. So we also now have a vocational training where thousands of young people have gone through it. Each year, we have at least 500 young people going through the vocational training. And in the school, we have about 450 kids in the primary school, in the entire school, and growing. Yeah, so in a nutshell, that's what Beacon of Hope is. We call ourselves a transformational center where we are restoring dignity, where we are bringing hope to people and getting them connected to their God-given purpose. Yeah.
Well, indeed, it's
We knew of AfCAA because we knew of Valentine when she was starting out. We saw what she was doing and very, very passionate about issues of integrity in organizations and Christian organizations being really the light wherever they are. And whatever she was doing resonated with us because those are some of our values, the values that we hold dearly as Beacon of Hope. And our core values, we call them the Beacon Way. And the first value that we have is we are led by our faith in Jesus Christ. We say we are committed. We say we do it for good, and we do it very well. Yeah, the Beacon Way. So whatever we're doing as a Beacon Way actually resonated very well with what AfCAA was trying to start. And issues of integrity for us are very, very key. Accountability is very, very key for us. Excellence is also very, very key for us because we strongly believe that even when you're serving the so-called vulnerable in our society, it does not mean that you have to have a very low bar and no sense of excellence. We deal with a God who is excellent. When he created the universe in Genesis, in the book of Genesis, every time he created something each day, he looked at it every day, the next day, and he would say, it was very good. So we do have an example of excellence. So I'm very passionate about excellence, very passionate about integrity, but also we call ourselves a Christian organization. We don't shout about it, but we live it out. We live it out. And we always say that we submit ourselves to the Lordship of Jesus Christ and apply biblical principles in all that we do. So that biblical standard, number one, which is what, it's one of the things that AfCAA stands for. Yeah, the doctrinal is one of the things that I would say really stood out for me because we used to have devotions. We've always prayed, everything we do, we have that. But I think what AfCAA did was to give us like a roadmap on how we can have a system on how we can incorporate it in every aspect of what we do. And that ended up leading us to have a chaplain. Now we actually have on staff a chaplain. One of our staff was an ordained minister, so we now promoted him to be now the chaplain of the organization. He's come for the trainings, And I can say there's a difference. We have a system whereby even the curriculum that we teach in the preschool now, our teachers have been trained in how to incorporate the gospel as they teach in class, in all the subjects. It's the same thing in the preschool, in the college. It's the same thing in the community. Because at the end of the day, what people need, as much as we do the economic empowerment, as much as we do health, as much as we do the social transformation, if people don't know the Lord, if they don't know their source of hope, it's all vanity. So for us, we feel strongly that the foundation should really be Christ. And it starts with myself, it starts with all our staff, it starts with our board, because you cannot give what you do not have. So we've been working at that level, ensuring that at that level we are grounded, and then with what we've received, we are able to transform, we are able to give to the children, the youth, the homes. We say that we have a big church because we have opportunity to go to all these thousands of families and thousands of children. In the hospital there, we have more than about 150 people who come through our medical facility every day. If we apply all those biblical principles, I think the change that will happen at the household level, at the community level, at society level would be major. So I could say through that standard number 1 on the doctrinal foundation, and the guidance that we've received and the trainings that our chaplain has received has really helped us as an organization. Yeah. I believe we are transparent. Our finances are an open book. In fact, we want to make sure that we actually put them on the internet going forward, but we needed, and at times you can also think that you're good and you're doing everything excellently, but at times it's good to get an external eye. We do have external auditors who come and audit our books every year. What I call AfCAA now is they serve as the internal auditors. They do the things that the external auditors don't do, like the biblical assessment. I think there's a standard on cultural balance in the organization, HR, looking at your governance structures, a bit more deeper than what we do with our auditors. So the process, I would say, was rigorous. It required much more in-depth looking and enhancement of our systems. So for us, what it has done, and it's something that we are yearning for, we say that our vision is to be a model of excellence in comprehensive community transformation. And we see ourselves as catalysts, as a model of catalyzing what we do, and we want to be able to mentor other organizations to do what we do, but not just from a program point of view, even in terms of institutional strengthening, the foundations of the institution. Because if the foundations are weak, which is your systems, your finance systems, your operations, your doctrinal standards, your all these things within the 7 standards, if they are weak, even though you're strong from a program point of view, the impact may not be long lasting. So we're looking at an institution and an organization that will outgrow us, which will sustain itself and continue being transformational because the foundation is strong. So we didn't mind the process because, as I said, we had nothing to hide. We looked at it as an institutional strengthening process, and we call AfCAA now the internal auditors. Yeah, we have the external, but we have now the internal auditors. So it's something that I would like to encourage other Christian organizations. I would say Christian organizations because it's for Christian organizations, because it helps you to look yourself on the inside. And there's that annual audit that happens every year that sort of like helps you to keeps you on your toes, so to speak. And the idea is to help you be better. It may not necessarily have helped us in terms of resource mobilization, but eventually it will. As more people continue to get to know AfCAA, as more organizations and donors get to know about AfCAA and what it stands for and what the seal stands for, eventually to bear fruit, But even as you strengthen your systems and structures and you work with other partners, even other bilateral donors, because you have the systems and the platforms and the accountability, then definitely you'll attract funding. Yeah. This is our shop. This is where we sell products that are made by our producers here and outside. Over the years, we've trained a lot of women, and others now have become their own producers out there. But we also sell their products. Other products are also made here. And as a way of ensuring that their lives are sustainable and the institution is also sustainable so that we can continue helping more people, we sell these products. We're just about to also launch an online shop. But for now, we encourage people, if you have a hotel, we can kit it from bedroom, bedside rugs to table mats for your dining, for the home. We also do corporate uniforms. We do all the uniforms for Beacon of Hope School, and we are also doing for other schools. So if you have a school or you have a company, we can comfortably kit your staff. And we also make clothes, for people, designer clothes. We partner with some designers from Germany who come and capacity build our people. So we can say that we are competent and can be able to produce some good outfits for those people who own hotels, for your home, for corporate uniforms, for corporate events. We also do a lot of corporate events like bags, laptop bags, anything that you need for events, we actually produce. And we encourage people to buy from us because we are not just a normal business. We say we are a social enterprise where such is concerned, where we are doing it not for us to put money in our pockets, but because of that woman, because of that family that is vulnerable. But now you're investing and bringing transformation in that household so that they can be sustainable. Yeah, we also have opportunities for people to sponsor children. As I said, a lot of the children that we have are vulnerable, and so are their mothers. So to keep that going and to ensure that we're able to provide uniform, quality education, uniform for these children in our school and others in the community, we always look for people who can partner with us to sponsor a child. Others is to sponsor a young person to acquire a technical skill. We have young people who are doing building and construction in the area of electrical installation, plumbing, beauty and hairdressing, food and accommodation, ICT. And they are wholesome people. They are people who are grounded in the word, IT literate. We give them transformational skills, which is on character and soft skills. And we are always looking for companies where we can place them for internship and thereafter get employment. So we, again, looking always for partners, for people who can invest in the life of a young person, a young man, a young woman, because that skill that they receive will transform their lives forever. We've been, as we've grown as Beacon of Hope, we realized that we can't just continue just looking for money. We have to be also faithful stewards of what God has given us. So we have a conference hall with breakout rooms, and we're always looking again for people. We use it for ourselves, for our meetings, for our school seminars and conferences, but we also list it out to the community and other organizations, banks, anybody who is training. It's fantastic. We're able to provide the food, and we've got the space. For team building, we have grounds. We also have a hostel, and we also have guest house with good rooms. So we can give people a full package where we can accommodate them as well as host their conferences and meetings. And that way, for every shilling that you invest, for every shilling that you pay us, it goes back into educating a child. It goes back into empowering that a woman and that young person. Yeah, you become a Beacon of Hope partner, but through business.